Carl, I don't know what you think you're doing. Excuse me. Hello. Got a dead white man in a box. Not even a casket. Doesn't even have a top on it. In a pine box of old wood. Who do you think's gonna get in trouble here?
Welcome back to DMR. Thank you for tuning back in. Much obliged. How are you? Hope you are well. So I hope you enjoyed the review for the Wednesday series now on Netflix, and it's up on YouTube and all the podcast platforms if you haven't caught it as of yet. So today I may be reviewing the last film for 2022 unless I see Avatar in the next week or two. So the film today will be called Amsterdam. It came out recently on streaming services. I don't know if it actually went to the cinema. I'm not entirely sure about that. I have to look at that. But I did catch it on Foxtel here in Australia. So massive cast in this film. So let's go over it in a little bit. But before we do, let's check out all the fantastic gear from DMR's main sponsor, which is Manscaped. So there's nothing quite like unboxing your brand new Manscaped gear just like I did here. So let's go over all this amazing tech. So the Performance Package 4.0, we've got the latest version of the lawnmower being the version 4. This trimmer is awesome. It can be used all over the body, below the waist, chest, face, you name it. We've also got the Weed Whacker, which is the nose and ear trimmer. Very handy tool, that one. We've got the Manscaped Boxer Briefs Anti-Chafe. Very, very comfortable. We've also got the Crop Preserver and the Crop Reviver, part of my daily hygiene routine now. We've got the Magic Mat as well. All of this coming in an amazing travel bag called the Shed. So this is everything you need, whether you're at work, home, or play. So Amsterdam, massive cast in this particular film. It's a 1930s detective noir style of movie. So generally I do like that style of movie. And I must say, with this big star-studded cast and that particular style of movie genre, I did quite like this film. I did quite like it. It looks quite good up on the screen. It looks very brown and yellowish tinges to it. It kind of looks like a Guillermo del Toro film, if you know what I mean. Very similar looking to Nightmare Alley, if you have caught that movie. But basically set in the 1930s with the three main characters, which is Margot Robbie, Christian Bale. We've also got John David Washington, which is Denzel Washington's son. So the two fellas in this movie are basically World War I veterans. Basically they meet Margot Robbie in a hospital after or during the war, where she's basically pulling bits of shrapnel out of them, and they basically form a friendship that basically goes into the next couple of years into the film. But the character development in this particular film between these three people up on the screen is very believable. I like the little trio that these guys had throughout the film, and the film runs on quite well with the plot and whatnot into a bit of a murder mystery type situation. So let's go over it a little bit more.
You don't get here without things starting a long time ago. So, two soldiers and a nurse found ourselves in
Amsterdam.
We formed a pact, and we swore to protect each other, no matter what.
Tax the rich.
We find ourselves in a situation where we're accused of killing someone, which is not true.
So the film basically kicks off after the war. The three of them, being Margot Robbie, Christian Bale and Washington, they're all living in Amsterdam, living a pretty good goddamn life. Washington is involved romantically with Margot Robbie's character, and you've got Christian Bale as a bit of a third wheel. All pretty good dialogue between these two. I really did like how the character development escalated throughout the film. It was quite believable with the friendship between these three. And I actually liked when they were up on the screen and they started to talk over the top of each other. I actually quite like that. In movies where you've got characters that are trying to outdo each other with dialogue, it does look like it's acted out very well up on the screen. So I really did like that style of the back and forth between these particular characters. So they live in Amsterdam and they're back in the United States thereafter a few years later, I think it was. There is a time jump in this particular film. I think it might be 12 or 13 years, I'm not entirely sure, but they're basically thrown back into the mix after Amsterdam, back into the USA, and apparently they're involved with a massive plot to overthrow the government at that time, because after the war in the 1930s, we've obviously got the drums of war beating very loudly over in the European theatre with the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi parties and whatnot. And there were some affiliations with that particular party over in the US of A. But it basically starts out where they have a client that comes in to the studio for Christian Bale, where he is basically uncovering a bit of a mystery of how this guy died. It looked like he was poisoned. Then his daughter, the guy that died, comes to them and says, look, I've basically witnessed something. Things aren't right, things are very, very wrong, and something tragic happens to her as well. So they're basically put into this situation where they're dealing with an undercover outfit that's working behind the scenes. We are in an era where basically black people in the USA were very, very hard done by, and you can tell that throughout this film, especially with Washington's character as well. But the character himself handles it quite well because he's an attorney of law, so he knows the ins and outs of what he can and can't do. So all in all, the plot for this particular film was very, very good. Again, that detective noir style of plot and background and subplots as well, it really did feel that it worked pretty well up on the screen. And with the star-studded cast, you've got people like Rami Malek, Taylor Swift, you've also got Mike Myers as well, Robert De Niro. There's a whole heap of people in this particular film. Some of them have cameo roles, some of them have more in-depth roles like De Niro towards the end, but it all works pretty well when you're looking at it up on the screen.
You and Woodman fled the scene.
The killer pointed at us.
We didn't do anything. Why would you possibly think that was us?
Well, there's not too many people that fit the description of a doctor looking for his eye on the ground with his black attorney.
Columbia Law School.
Life is funny.
We need someone to help us to find the truth.
My friend was killed because of something monstrous that he had seen.
This is all turning out to be a lot larger than any of us. You're gonna have to take my lead getting out of this. I had to stab a guy. I had to hit a lady with a brick one time.
What?
It's a long story, but with you two, it'll be a cakewalk.
These are dangerous times.
You be careful.
I'm about to do something that could cost me my life.
The cuckoo is in the nest and the cuckoo's about to be trapped.
Cuckoo?
So the pros and the cons for Amsterdam, as I mentioned, it came out on streaming services very, very quickly, so I'm not entirely sure if it was out at the cinema. So the pros for it, the star-studded cast works very well for most of the time, especially the three main characters being Margot Robbie, Christian Bale and Washington as well. I did believe that these three people really did care for one another, and the on-screen dialogue was very good to watch. A little bit of back and forth was quite good, the banter between these three. The cinematography is pretty good to watch. I love that 1930s and 1940s noir detective style of film, especially like LA Confidential, Reminiscence, films like that, and Nightmare Alley. I really do love that style of movie. So the plot was pretty good as well. I did like that plot throughout the film, the undercover world that they're basically trying to stop for the revolution in the US of A. So the cons, as I mentioned, the time jump in the film, I'm not sure if that is a massive con, but it kind of threw me off a little bit. And the payoff at the end in terms of the climax of the film, it was okay. I felt it probably could have been a bit bigger in terms of what they were kind of aiming for. But one more pro, I did like some of the shock value in this particular film. There are two scenes, especially one towards the start of the film with Taylor Swift, and then there's one towards the end with Margot Robbie as well. You don't really expect it, so I really did like those two. So all in all, I will give it my number 3 rating, which is definitely watch it on a streaming service. I'm not going out of my way to buy this on Blu-ray, but it's a pretty good watch in terms of a Sunday afternoon pick if you have it on your list. So thank you for tuning in to my review for Amsterdam. Hopefully I will catch Avatar: The Way of Water very shortly, and then I'll do my top 10 list for 2022.
Do me a favor. Try to be optimistic.
As always, I will catch you on the Menjay.
This is one of the finest innovations from Zurich. It removes all pain. Guys like me, we have to turn to booze, to morphine, and that can lead to addiction. Oh, that's fast. That is advanced.
So there you have it, the review for Amsterdam. Pretty good movie if you haven't caught it as of yet. So do me a massive favor and smash on that subscribe button and join the family. Cheers.